Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
This really underlines or highlights what you were already coming in to talk about. 1 minute, 2 minutes before you're going on, the hag is dead. Weldon comes running in here. Country music singer in his own right, pretty darn successful. And then it's on the same subject you were about to cover. That is weird.
It is weird. What's weird is what happened to me about 3 weeks ago. I was with my family on spring break in Utah, Park City, Deer Valley, where we go every year. And when I got there, I looked in the sky and I saw chemtrails everywhere. And my wife said to me, "Oh my gosh, look at all these chemtrails everywhere." And so we started walking around the town and everybody was coughing and hacking and has respiratory illnesses. And people were actually saying, I was asking a couple of people, I said, "What's going on around here?" And they said, "Well, they're calling it the Park City flu." And so I didn't think anything of it. And I ski for a couple days. And on day 3, I start feeling really bad. And I'm looking up. I'm like, great. Now my whole vacation's going to be ruined. I don't even get sick. I know that if I get sick, there's something seriously going on. And I can literally feel it in my body. And I know that when there's something man-made or there's something strange or some sort of biological weapon, that there's something else going on. So I'm knocked out in bed, can't even move. I'm drinking 3 bottles of silver a day. I'm taking 100 drops of oregano. I'm taking a bunch of iodine. And I'm barely getting by. My throat, my respiratory, everything is going on. So like on day 3, I can finally start getting to the computer. So I start looking and saying, there's something weird going on. I need to find out what it is. So I'm thinking it's spring break all over the country. It's going to be spring break for the next 3 weeks. That's the perfect time for them to spray. And you know, everybody leaves their hometown for spring break, right? So they're all going to the East Coast. They're all going to the West Coast. They're going to Arizona. They're going skiing in Colorado and Utah. So I start looking at the different chemtrail websites and trying to figure out what's going on. Sure enough, I came up with, digging deep enough with chemtrail flu and realized that they heavily sprayed the East Coast, right along the border of Canada and the United States. So the whole north, they squared in the United States.
And by the way, they cover a lot of this with geoengineering. It's admitted they're doing it. There are UN treaties on it. They have proven they are retrofitting planes. They also add key compounds to jet fuel, so it's compartmentalized. We have the patents, so even the companies don't know. They're directed by Homeland Security just to do it. That's why even NASA admits the Earth is now 30% darker. You can type in satellite images of chemtrails from space. That's the layman's term, but this is going on. There's also low-altitude spraying going on. They admit CIA testing in almost every city of the U.S., in some cases spraying chemicals, biologicals, radiologicals on towns, then having the military doctors in the hospitals to, quote, test the response. So secret human testing is massive. Most of the public only knows about black people and Tuskegee because they wanted the public to know and think, oh, it's just the black people. No, folks. No, they've been injecting large parts of the population with syphilis in the vaccines. You think it's a vaccine, it's really syphilis. My grandmother got polio from the polio vaccine 1 week later. This is a massive eugenics operation, as Prince Philip talked about. Please continue.
So, of course, me being a researcher, I wanted to dive into this even more. And at the same time, by the way, we're getting emails from people that are sick all over the nation. This has been going on, like I said, about 3 weeks ago it started. And I don't even think we're in the real big, pandemic part of it yet.
And let's be clear, people get tested and don't even have the flu virus. They just say, people I know in Austin, because I've taken people to the doctor and they've said this, well, we just call it the flu. We don't know what it is.
This is definitely not the flu. I mean, they're going in and they're getting flu shots, obviously. They're being told it's influenza, but the research that I pulled up, it's not. And we can link all these things with the pneumonia and the respiratory and the heart conditions that are going on across the U.S. Like I said, they sprayed not only did they square in the U.S., but they also sprayed right across the middle of the U.S. That's why you're seeing all these deaths and everything happen along the East Coast, the West Coast, along the South, and everything else.
And Merle Haggard just died.
And Merle Haggard just died. So
from a respiratory deal.
So I pulled up some sample. There's an agency in Victoria, British Columbia, because whatever they're doing up there is really taking a bad. People are having really bad reactions, and this samples were given to this lab that are licensed by the Environmental Protection Agency, and they found ethylene dibromide, which is a pesticide, a banned pesticide, which causes severe respiratory reactions at low levels. They found Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which not only causes respiratory infection, but also attacks the immune system. I told my wife, I said, it feels like there's 3 organisms that are attacking me at once. That was before I knew this, and sure enough, they identified 3 organisms. The second one is Serratia marcescens, which is an antibiotic-resistant bacteria which causes pneumonia, endocarditis, and meningitis, and the last one was Streptomyces and molds, capable of inducing heart disease, upper respiratory.
That's right. They now admit there's all these weird mutated molds that are killing the bats, killing the turtles, cause people to have heart attacks. Brain tumors are growing in young people suddenly from mold. Mold's getting through the blood-brain barrier, and then mold's growing in the brain. I mean, what have they done with the GMO? Also, China heats up its big factories right now. Its jet stream dumps in all over the United States. So this is insane.
Top it off with the aluminum nanoparticles that they're spraying down on us and everything else.
Which is an admitted giant secret program. They admit they're doing it. Billions being spent spraying us with aluminum, and Monsanto's coming out with seeds that can grow in aluminum soil. And then you got the Zika virus, which they admit is linked to mutations and engineered, with the Rockefeller Foundation creating it, a souped-up version.
Right. I mean,
you cannot make this up.
You cannot make it up. It's happening. If you talk to farmers all over the world, the aluminum nanoparticles are causing a very acidic soil, messing up all the plants, including organic foods and beverages, and it's something that needs to be stopped, obviously.
That's why most stuff has to be raised now in a greenhouse to be organic, because you test it and it's got aluminum in it because it's raining out of the sky.
That's what we're doing. We're setting up greenhouses at our farm to grow all the herbs just so we can protect them from the air.
There, I want to get more into these news articles about this and why you think it's going to get a lot worse with Dr. Group. We'll also open the phones up. And, he's hosting the 4th hour now with Anthony Gucciardi. Going to Joe Biggs briefly because I'd forgotten, seeing him walking around the office, that he was in the hospital. Sickest he'd been in his life. He always brags he doesn't get sick. They couldn't say it was flu, couldn't say it was pneumonia, had pneumonia. And this is just all over the country, and the media is not really reporting on it. I mean, it's here or there, but this is scary. And then you have congressional hearing reports where they call chemtrails an exotic weapon system. It's going on. All sorts of different cocktails are being sprayed on us. And they tell us it's ice crystals. Until the early 90s, when the Nobel Prize was won for coming up with this, a Nobel Prize was won for it, there were no chemtrails, condensation trails, ice crystals formed above 20,000 feet in the summer, a little bit lower in the winter. It was ice crystals, and they faded away within a minute. I sit there and watch these working in the garden or whatever, spray, they're there 3 hours later, expanding and drifting down, forming cloud banks. They teach kids in university textbooks, but also in elementary textbooks, the entire gamut, that there's a program to save the earth from solar radiation. Look, it's a government program, and it is anti-human and poisoning the earth. Joe Biggs, tell folks what happened to you.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was just sitting at my desk, and I was listening to Dr. Group speak about the matter and how they were this huge chemtrail dump up north. So I was just recently in Philly. 2 weeks prior to that, I was deathly ill. I was in the hospital on and off. I lost about 10 pounds. All I could do was sleep. I had no energy. I felt like I was on my deathbed. I woke up in cold sweats, and it reminded me because when I was in Philly, I had a conversation at the Democracy Spring protests. I was actually speaking to one of the older gentlemen that lived out there his whole life. And he says, hey, man, make sure you stay warm. He's like, you don't want to catch the pneumonia that's going around. And I said, that's funny you say that. I just had the flu and pneumonia. And he goes, man, he's like, you probably got the chemtrail flu. And that's what they're calling it right now in Philly. This is coming from a bunch of Bernie supporters, some Trump guys that are out there I spoke to. A lot of people are dying from pneumonia.
And notice how the public knows. Even people that aren't listeners know about the chemtrail flu. People know that we've got an evil multinational global force against us. It's not aliens, but it might as well be. It's a global secret technocracy that uses all of our tax money to build these huge Manhattan Project programs and then use them against us.
Yeah, the last time I had the flu, I was like 12 years old. I got, when I joined the military, when they started forcing us to take those flu shots, I would get sick from time to time. But, I mean, this was the full-on flu. I'm in the bed. Then I was able to get pneumonia. I mean, I literally thought I was going to die a couple of days there. It was so bad that I didn't even know who I was speaking to. I couldn't walk. I fell over. And that's when I had to get someone to help me, drag me, pick me up, and take me to the hospital. They took all these tests. They found out that I had flu A, and then they did chest x-rays. They ended up finding out that I had pneumonia as well on top of that. I thought I was going to die. So this is something that people really need to look into. You know, the fact that we have
notice
people
the
on
more
the ground.
vaccines we get, the worse it gets. Joe, thank you. We're glad you didn't go the way of Merle Haggard. Amazing. Tell folks what's coming up. We're going to break, but some of the U.S. code.
Okay, so as I was looking into it even more, H.R. 2977 is a bill that was introduced into the 107th U.S. Congress in 2001, and chemtrails were referred to as an exotic weapons system. And supposedly, chemtrails spraying over humans in the U.S. gained its legality from U.S. Code Title 50, Section 1520, which gives the Secretary of Defense authority to order testing involving the use of a chemical agent or biological agent on civilian population for research purposes.
That's right. Well, U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32, subsection 1528, paragraph B, quote, prohibits secret testing, including lethal, unless it's for research or law enforcement purposes.
Yeah.
So it's okay to kill us or test on us if it's for research or law enforcement purposes.
Yeah, that's right. And what people don't realize is when they block the UVB rays, this is a whole nother eugenics program. You block the body and the plant's ability to grow properly, and you block vitamin D production.
And that's why Cass Sunstein at the White House wants a law banning, saying sunlight is good. He wants a law where your kids aren't allowed to have it. It's child abuse.